my beautiful students, first year. Today is the first semester, fourth class, semester one, class four, and we're going to talk about the 2D studies, the silhouette, negative space. Uh, the bus is a little bit too late, and I'm still in the bus exchange. I hope the bus will come soon, and I will talk about the 2D studies, 3D studies, the difference between these two different approaches, and a lot more when we get to the class. Stay tuned. So far we have been working on gesture, and we have had a few classes on gesture. Now, assumption is that our gesture is good, right? But what to do now after gesture? What do you do with your drawing? How do you develop your drawing? That's the journey that we have together to take for 2 years. Based on gesture, we're going to add a lot of different things, and then layer by layer, we're going to build up the drawing. One of the basic categories in drawing is the 2D studies and 3D studies. You probably have heard about that, the 2D studies of figure drawing or 3D studies. And you might ask right away that drawing is 2D. What do you mean? It's always on a surface, always on paper or the wall or the board. Then it's 2D by nature. What do you mean by 2D study or 3D study? That's right. Drawing is 2D, but the task of drawing is to imitate the 3D world. The task of drawing to create the illusion of 3D. The actual drawing is 2D, but the illusion is 3D. And that's the importance of drawing, actually. Or the more important aspect of drawing is to create that illusion of 3D. Then there are ways to create the 3D illusion that we're going to talk about later during the course. But the question is, what about the 2D? Then what is the 2D studies, and what is the importance of 2D studies? The thing is, you like it or not, every drawing that you can imagine, has got a 2D aspect and a 3D aspect. Every drawing. Doesn't matter. For example, just these gestures that I did right now, 1 minute gesture when Abby was doing. If you look at them, for example, look at that one. There is a 2D aspect about that drawing and a 3D aspect. Can you tell me what is the difference between the 2D aspect and 3D aspect? How do you define the 2D aspect of that drawing and then 3D aspect of it? Yes, please.
So the 2D aspects are like the shapes and the silhouettes. And
Yeah.
The 3D aspects are like the forms within the shape.
Yeah, exactly. The silhouette is the 2D aspect of this drawing. If I do just the silhouette of this drawing, it's going to be very flat. For example, you see that's the silhouette of this drawing, right? The silhouette. That's the silhouette, right? Going something like that, something like that, something like that. You see, that's the silhouette, and if I go there, that's the silhouette of that drawing, right? And that's the 2D aspect of that drawing. But look, here I have created depth and 3D dimension of the third dimension of what is happening. I've created the illusion of that. In reality, everything is flat, everything is 2D. But these aspects, these are the 3D aspect of that drawing. But the 2D aspect is the silhouette, and not just the silhouette, it's the base. Whatever I do to create 3D illusion is based on that 2D. If the 2D is wrong, then there's not much hope for 3D. Then you see that the 2D aspect of any drawing is an important aspect of drawing. You have to get the 2D aspect of it correctly, Are you with me so far? Then I hope now you have a better idea what's the 2D aspect and 3D aspect of a drawing. We're going to focus on this 2D aspect, this class and next class. And these are the only classes that I talk about 2D aspect of drawing. The rest of my course, which is almost 2 years, is all about the 3D aspect of drawing. And as I said, that's the important aspect of drawing. We want to create something 3D. Then we have to learn how to create that 3D aspect. And by the way, gesture itself that we're talking about last 2 weeks is both 2D and 3D. It's got everything that is related to drawing. Gesture is about everything, as we talked about it before. And the 2D aspect is, or 2D aspect of drawing is a powerful concept. If you think too much of the 2D aspect of whatever you want to draw and you only focus on that, makes your drawing flat, makes your drawing kind of dead, rigid, and that's the bad side of the 2D aspect when you think of 2D studies. At the same time, when you think of the 2D studies, you get the proportion right, you get the relationship between different parts right. For example, when you think, you say, okay, the arm is this long in this position, half an arm, or the relation between upper body and lower body. These are all 2D aspects of a drawing. When you basically are flattening the object that you're drawing on an imaginary surface, and then you start measuring and you start studying it, that's the 2D aspect. It's very scientific, if you like, mechanical, even perspective. When you talk about perspective, I mean the perspective rule. That's something that is supposed to create something 3D looking, right? But in fact, it's about the 2D aspect of drawing. Is mapping up the area that you can work on and get the illusion of the 3D, but is giving you the limits of your drawing and the 2D aspect or the base of your drawing. The 2D aspect is the base of whatever you do to build a 3D looking drawing, right? Then I want to say there are good side and there are bad side. The good side is that it gives you accuracy, gives you a right relationship between different parts of the body. The bad side is that if you emphasize too much on that, it becomes very rigid. It becomes very lifeless. And then you have to learn how to use this powerful and helpful aspect of 2D studies and avoid the bad side effect of the 2D study. That is something that you're going to work on later during this course. But I cannot avoid the 2D studies. Some teachers teach 2D study after they talk about 3D aspect of drawing. But I think it's better to learn the 2D aspects first and get rid of it. I mean, now we have it, now we have the skills, and we build up the 3D studies on top of that. One of the good and known assignments about 2D aspect of drawing or 2D studies is the silhouette. You know that. I mean, every drawing book talk about that, and it's a very known concept, especially this one that I'm going to draw from you. You see, I'm doing the silhouette of my own hand with just drawing kind of outline of my hand, right? That's the silhouette of my hand. This silhouette is known even to the cavemen. You have seen the cave drawings, the cave paintings. There are lots of silhouette of, and probably they thought it's got the magical force and power. And there is the hands of children, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone is on the cave wall. This silhouette for us, and a lot of people, a lot of teachers say, do some negative space drawing, and then silhouette drawing is also a negative space drawing. These are negative space and this is positive space. The space between the actual form are negative space and the actual form is positive space. For example, on this one that I drew from you, the negative space are these and the positive space is this. Then they say if you draw this negative space, it's good for you. In fact, it's good because, again, it gives you exact relationship between different parts of the body. But I think a good explanation for this, why negative space drawing is good, and at the same time it's dangerous if you don't know how to deal with, is that you flatten the image in your head. You remember I told you day first that drawing has got two processes, one image making and one putting image on the paper. Negative space is very much related to that image making. You learn how to flatten the pose on an imaginary surface and start studying the relationship between those parts. In a way, what you do on the board, the negative space drawing teaches you how to do it in your head. Come in, please, go sit there. Right? I repeat this part that you were distracted. What negative space drawing does to you is similar to what I am doing by the board. You know, the board shows you the flat aspect, the 2D aspect of my hand, which is 3D. Negative space drawing teaches you how to do that in your head without smashing her to the board and getting the negative space out of that, like these cartoons that Bugs Bunny runs away and smashes the wall, and you see the silhouette of Bugs. Without doing that to the model, you can do it in your head. Then, as you see, it's a very powerful tool. If you learn how to do that, how to see things as silhouette, it's a very, very, very powerful tool. It's so powerful that you say it's too powerful. Again, as I said, if you use it too much and you get, you fall in love with that, your drawing is going to be very flat. You have to be careful about that. But nevertheless, it's powerful. And that's why it's good for drawing, because it eliminates the third dimension and makes things already flat in your head, and then you can put it on the board, on the paper, easily when you see the negative space or you see the silhouette or flatten. You flatten the 3D object that you draw in your head, and it's easier to put it on the wall. Then today we are going to practice this. We are going to learn this skill that you need to flatten the objects that you draw in your head and see it that way. Next week, next class, I will talk more about this and show you how this concept is very important during the Renaissance. And we're going to talk about Dürer device which is that one. And next week we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And you see the relationship between their device and these flattening things in your head, right? But before we start our exercises, I want to talk about the importance of this concept of silhouette or negative space in animation. In animation, it's a very, very, very important concept. It's so important that you don't talk about it. You know it should be there. When you want to pose in animation, you have to look at the silhouette of your pose. You have to look at the negative space of your pose. Why? Because animation is all about movie, and you have a little screen, a little time, things are going really fast. If you want to people read what you're talking about, you have to think of the negative space of every pose, of silhouette of every pose. If silhouette is not working, that's not a good pose. You have to always be aware of your silhouette. Again, it's so important, so present in the whole animation industry that, there's no need to talk about it. Of course, the silhouette is very important. Then, obtaining this skill that you can see the silhouette is very important for life drawing as well, but it's extremely important for animation. The thing is, don't fall in love with it. It's dangerous. It's like good drug that if you take too much of it, you're in trouble. Don't do that. Just take just enough amount that helps you to draw better, right? Then this is also how negative space is important for animation. Now you're going to have 5-minute poses, and you just start. What I did here. I didn't start with the negative space. I started with gesture, and later, when I want to talk to you, I was talking about the what's that? It's silhouette and negative space. But if I want to do the exercise, I would start with the negative space that is surrounding her, right? Maybe you can give me a pose and. I can show you what you're going to do. You're going to have 5-minute poses. Yeah. Okay, good negative space, yeah. Then I don't start with the gesture. I start with negative spaces that are surrounding her. Usually it's better to go for enclosed negative spaces. For example, there is enclosed negative space here. Right? And then what's the other enclosed one that I see in relation to the other one is something like that. Something like that, right? That's another negative space. Again, this exercise flattened that pose in my head. And then the next negative space that I see, the negative space surrounding this part, going something like that, and going something like that. The positive space, which is her body, doesn't exist for me. The space surrounding her body exists for me, and I'm trying to draw that. Another negative space that I have to be careful and draw it well is this negative space. As you see, the more I do the negative space, let me do another part. You see that the silhouette will come true, right? And then this, and then this, right? Now you can see that she's standing like that, and anyways. I think that's enough. What I want you to do. Just draw the negative space. The positive space don't exist for us today. And get the silhouette and try to learn this skill that you can flatten
the image in your head and get rid of the third dimension in order to study the 2D aspect. And then relationship between different negative spaces is very important. Try to be accurate. Try to be, get the right proportion and the right relationship between different negative spaces. Is that clear? Okay, let's have 5-minute pauses. Thank you. Have just a few 1 minute gesture quickly. Yeah. These are gestures. These are not negative space drawing. Gesture drawing. The normal gesture that you do. Just go for gesture. No negative space, just gesture. Yeah, 1 minute. Thanks. I have a quick question for you. What happened when we shifted from negative space drawing to gesture drawing? Just excuse me. Sorry. What happened? What happened from negative space to gesture immediately? No observation. Nothing happened. No.
For me, it was just a little weird trying to loosen up again because I was really like rigid when I was trying to do the.
Yeah, you were paying attention to negative space, and there was a contradiction kind of between these two approaches. There is contradiction, but at the same time you were affected by negative space, and you want to look for negative space. The question is, can we solve this contradiction? Can you use it in a good way? This is the question that we're going to talk about after the break. Now let's have a 10 minutes break. Combine gesture and negative space drawing, right? There are a lot of good things about this. One is that when you do negative space drawing, you sort of lose the relationship between different part of the what you're doing, part of your drawing. But if you have a gesture first and then do negative space on top of it, then you do better with the negative space. But that's not the reason that I'm asking you to do this. The reason is that I think negative space drawing, because it's so brutal, it shows you your mistakes, then I want you to use it as a self-correcting tool. You do 1 minute gesture, do your gesture, don't think of negative space, do your gesture the way you do your gesture, and then when you're done with your gesture, sit back and look at the negative space of your gesture that you've done. And check those negative spaces and compare it to what is in front of you and see how accurate you are, see how close you are. And try to study your own drawing and see what have you done. How correct yourself. This is a self-correcting tool. This is something that will teach you how to see things out of the box. When you do your gesture, you're in love with your gesture and you think, oh, that's the best thing in the world. But if you sit back and look at it through the negative space studies or 2D studies, silhouette studies, negative space studies, you might see things that you didn't see when you were doing your gesture. Then it's a good way to use the 2D studies and gesture in order to expand your ability of seeing, in order to correct yourself, and in order to gradually improve your gesture. Because every time that you do your gesture and you correct it with negative space and you realize mistakes that you have made in previous gesture, next gesture you will get a little bit better. It's a very good tool, in my opinion, to improve, to get better and better in your gesture. I call this assignment 1+4. 1 minute gesture, 4 minute negative space drawing on top of it. Not two separate drawings. The same drawing, 1 minute gesture, and then 4 minutes of negative space drawing on top of it.
So what's
Oh.
it for 5 minutes?
You go just for 5 minutes, but you sort of divide your time to 1 or plus 5. No, sorry, plus 4. Okay? Okay, let's do it.